Hi, welcome to Sabbath School Daily, where we have been studying from this lesson right here, God's mission, my mission. Today, we're starting a brand new lesson, which is lesson number 7, which has the title, Mission to My Neighbor, and today's Sabbath lesson, where we're going to introduce the topic for this week. One of the most misunderstood verses in the Bible is what we have for our memory verse this week, which comes from Luke chapter 10, verse 27, that says, He answered, Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. I'd like to ask you a question. What does it mean to love God? How do you answer that question? You see, I found that many people use this verse, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. They use that as a blanket statement for whatever they want. And in doing so, they create a God unto their own self. Now, let me explain myself. The problem with using this text as a blanket statement for loving God is that when I don't define what it means to love God with all that I have, well then I can just justify any way of life, any form of existence with loving God. Friends, loving God in the Bible, it's not an abstract reality. It's not an intangible thing. Loving God is revealed by how we live. Loving God is loving others. Of course, we're not talking about buying our way into heaven. We're not talking about salvation by works. We're talking about salvation revealed or made manifest by works. It's not as much how we obtain salvation, but as how we reveal and reflect the salvation that we already live. After all, in 1 John chapter 4, verse 20, we find a very deep truth, which says, if someone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? So that's why you'll see that here in this verse, love the Lord your God is followed by love your neighbor as yourself. How do I reveal that I love God? By loving others, by loving my neighbor. And there's another important reality here, which is how do you love yourself? Because the text says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, which means that it's not very possible to love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. Now, is it? So here you have the two sides of this truth. We are called to love the Lord our God with everything that we have, and we reveal that by loving our neighbor as we love ourselves, which means that we have to love God in first place, but we also have to love ourselves. We can't live a life of self-deprecation. We can't live a life where we hate ourselves, where we don't value ourselves and understand what we're worth. So I hope that you see the two sides of this, loving the Lord with all that we have and revealing that, demonstrating that by loving others around us as we love ourselves, putting others on equal footing, and that levels us. That means that we shouldn't live lives of selfishness, of egocentrism, and at the same time, we have to live lives in which we understand how much we're worth, how much was paid for us, how much was given and offered for us. And so this week's lesson is one of my favorite ones this quarter because we're going to be analyzing one of my favorite parables in the entire Bible, which is the parable of the Good Samaritan. This is a beautiful parable. The story as it's described is incredibly deep because it reveals a side of God's love that should convert, that should translate over into our love. I hope that you stick with me throughout this week. There is a lot to learn here with this lesson, a lot to look at. There are some very beautiful, deep details here, and I'm sure that it will be a blessing to you. So remember to study your lesson this week. Study the verses that are mentioned, the concepts, the ideas, meditate on them, think about them throughout your day as you go through the week. I would recommend that you read Luke chapter 10 that contains the parable of the Good Samaritan. Please comment down below with any questions or any comments. I'd love to interact with you. And also remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to our videos. We release one every day, and I hope to see you again here tomorrow for another Sabbath School Daily.